Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
Right, that's weird because it does feel
That
like
is
I was
weird.
like secretly taped.
Yeah, you were. That was exactly what happened.
Welcome to Drum and Drummer.
Welcome to Drum and Drummer, episode 100.
100, baby.
We made it.
We did it.
Oh,
Congratulations,
sweet.
George.
Well done, Ben. Sweet joy.
Isn't that something?
That is something. We'll discuss it later on in the episode.
Yes,
think
we
is the
will.
plan.
We will. But first, George, you appear to be in unfamiliar surroundings.
Yes, I am. I'm in my new drum room,
Yeah.
which is a vocal booth. I think I don't know how known it is where I am, where the booth is.
No one knows.
Well, exactly.
No one knows. This
No, I
is
mean,
the-
but like, basically.
Do you mean no one knows where you are? That if you died right now,
Yeah.
we wouldn't find you? How long would it take for someone to discover your rotting
to
corpse?
find me? Don't know. A good few weeks, because this vocal booth is in the middle of nowhere. You know, I bought a truck. I put it in the truck. I drove for 8 hours in the dark, due north. So who knows where I am? No, it's in Pat Garvey and Ben Thomas's new business. I don't know much about it, but they've got some drum rooms in here, and this isn't one of their drum rooms that they've specially made. This is a vocal booth, but you can fit a little kit in here, and this is now my new space to do everything. I mean, I'm podding in here. I do all my practice in here. I work out any Ableton shit in here. But I'll tell you what's good about it. I'll tell you what is good. It's small, which might seem a downside, but
Spin it,
not.
George. Spin
I'll
it
tell you,
into a positive.
This is my justification for it. I only do one thing at a time in here. Do you know what I mean? So right now, I mean, the kick, Pat very kindly lent me this Natal kit. 18 kick, don't know, what is that? 8 high tom, 14 floor, and a snare. But that's all that is ever in here. So if I'm doing the pod, it's just my laptop and mic. And then as soon as we've done the pod, that's out, because I've got a storage section outside of it. So that is gone. Forget about it. Done the pod, forget it until we next record. And then I bring in my cymbals, because I got to practice for a gig I got on Thursday. And then if I'm doing any Ableton stuff, no cymbals in here. Get that out.
Yeah.
It's just Mac. You know what I mean? If I'm practicing, it's just the pad on a snare. So that's how I'm very sort of like, right, one thing at a time, because I think otherwise...
And the bed folds up into the wall, and then that's your living room.
Do you know what? There is a shower down the hall, and I showed Elfie around it the other day. She's like, you could live here. And she almost said it in a way of like...
Please.
Yeah. If I ever kick you out, I know that...
She was in full support of the move.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great.
I'll pay half. I'll pay half.
Yeah.
If anything, she got me to chip in as well.
If anything, she found the room. She messaged Pat, have you got anything, please?
Anything. It doesn't even have to be a drum room.
No.
It's just a corner. You know,
Yeah.
just a little box.
Yeah, he's gone part-time, and now
We
I see
can
him
sell
too
it. That
much.
it's good. It doesn't have much space. We can spin it around and you go, no, because now you're in podcast mode, so you don't need the cymbals.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think in general it's good to get to that point where you can separate work from home.
Yep, definitely.
That sort of thing. I've had that for quite a while now. I don't have any music gear at home. Anything. I don't even have a computer.
No.
You know me, George. I bloody love a computer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So I don't have anything at home. It's all in the studio. I'm fortunate to have a studio. I've got all my drums, do all my recording, mixing. I do all my admin.
Yeah.
You know, right now I'm in the office.
Yeah. Well, it's separation.
So when I go home, I can't do shit even if I wanted to.
No, exactly.
You know.
So that's that.
And I wouldn't anyway because I've got a PlayStation 5 and it is brilliant.
A lot of Lego as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's
too
that.
much.
Yeah. Way
Well, that's
too much.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you?
Very well. Very well. Yes. It feels like we've not chatted for a while.
I know. Well,
Because
you
we
just said
did
2
our
weeks
UK
ago.
drum show episodes back to back, staggered
Yes.
the release. But one thing I literally said to you before we hit the record button was, I can't believe it's been 2.5 weeks since we went up to Liverpool.
Yeah.
If you've not if you've not listened to those episodes, do it. It's quite fun. And if you've not seen, George made a lovely little highlights sort of video diary video. It's on the YouTubes. Go and check that out.
And if you don't have time for that, there's a 30-second clip.
Yeah.
But
and if you don't, and then if you don't even have time for that, fuck off. Just wasting our time.
I made that specifically because attention spans. You know what I mean? No one has. I don't have an attention span. No one has an attention span anymore. So it's like, oh, there's a YouTube.
I'm bored right now.
5 minutes. Yeah, exactly. That's why we do half an hour. And so it's like 30 seconds. They can do 30 seconds. But I reckon, because I swear there's a thing you can see, like at which point people stayed on the video too. And I remember posting something once, and it was like 10 seconds in, people, it's like, geez, how on it does it? How much excitement do you want? Yeah. He was eating cheese chili bites. What more do you want? We went over a bridge.
Yeah, lovely bridge.
So yeah. But right, what have you been up to then?
Well, what have I been up to?
That was an octave change.
Yes, it was. Quite a bit of studio work actually. Been a lot of work in the studio. I've mentioned before, I've been working on this album pretty much all year. A very slow process. I'm getting to the tail end of post-production. So it's a 10-track album, and I'm halfway through mixing track 9.
Nice.
So I'm getting very close. Then there's just another acoustic song we're doing a little bit work on this week, and then we'll just do a session of mix revisions. But the end is in sight, which is always I don't know if you find this, especially working on such a big project, you start mixing, and it's exciting because you're starting to make this thing sound how you want it to sound.
Yeah.
Then you get into like track 5, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trudging through it. I've been doing it a while. A lot of the excitement has dissipated. The ending feels so far away. And if you just get yourself over that hurdle, and then the amount of work left to do starts shrinking, and then it feels like it shrinks really dramatically. Yeah. And now it's like, I've essentially all the tracks with drums are mixed now. The 10th track is acoustic and vocals. So it's a lot smaller job. But then this is what I've done. This is what I've done, George. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before, but I bought a big Lego set in the summer. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to build it straight away.
No.
I'm not going to build it straight away.
Yeah.
And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to save it. And that's going to be my reward for finishing this album. Yeah. Which I've spent 10 months of my life on.
Jesus.
Yeah, we started tracking in January.
I'm more shocked that you've not made a Lego thing for 10 months.
Don't worry, I bought other sets in between.
Oh, yeah. Of course,
but this is quite a big one, but I think it's like I've said about the Mustang. Yeah. It's the carrot at the end of the stick. Yeah. Which what you need sometimes to help motivate you to get through, especially that tricky period. Like maybe that bit of dirge. And it's like, do you know what? If I just keep going, I'll be closer to building that Lego set. Yeah. So that's quite good. But in the meantime, whilst I'm coming to the tail end of this, I've started 2 new EPs. Nice. with artists. So that's now on my plate.
And 2 new big boxes of Lego you bought as well.
It's an excuse, yeah. No, one is 2 very different projects, if you'll indulge me, George.
Go ahead.
And listeners. One is, I've worked with both artists before. One of them is kind of like a dub, kind of reggae, vintagey sort of band. Tracking everything here, double bass, saxophone, clean guitar, drums, vocals. I think they want me to put some trombone on as well. But we track that with drums in the live room, everyone else in the control room, all playing live, no click. all playing together, and then we will overdub all the other instruments. And then the other is like a 2-piece kind of emo pop punk rock band, loads of synths. That is drums tracked. We did the drums here, but then they've done everything else at home, guitars, bass, synths, sending me those stems. I'm putting them in, but when we're tracking the vocals here. So we did our first session yesterday, tracking vocals. So that's more of a hybrid thing, but it's a lot more to the grid, a lot more big, full production. So 2 very different projects, but so different challenges. You've got to think about them in a different way.
Yeah.
But that's good to, start working on them as I'm finishing this other project. So it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Nice.
Feeling a good place.
Good
Still
work.
doing the weddings.
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of got one more, then season's over for me.
Yeah.
Cut the rest in there. But I know you, George.
I was going to say, good work-life balance then?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the key.
You've got to keep on top of that. You've got to keep on top of that, really.
Yeah.
For example, I got a lot of work to do this week, but I know I'm having Friday off.
Yeah.
Friday off. I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Don't know what I'm doing on it that day. No pressure. But Friday is designated.
Yep.
Even if I just play PlayStation all day, that is absolutely fine.
That is.
Now, I saw a little post you put on Instagram, George.
Yeah.
Doing a Ren gig.
Doing a Ren
And what
gig.
I wanted to ask you,
Go on.
because you've been dabbling in Ableton.
The little dabble.
Did you use Ableton at these gigs?
Yep.
How did it go?
All. It was a serious question, and then a light one. It's great. Wait. So what day are we on now? It's the 17th. This comes out on the 19th.
Yes.
No. Yeah. I always get thrown off. So yeah, it was last week. No, it was week. Fucking hell. I know when it was. It was the 6th of October. That was the gig. That was like my not even a carrot on a stick. That's the finish line point from learning Ableton, because I've spoken about Ableton before. Joke
Too much, if anything.
Too much, if anything. And learning about it. And basically, for 2 weeks, once Millie, aka Ren, sent me the stems for all her songs, I spent 2 or 3 weeks just trying to get the tracks to work. And I can't remember how much I spoke about it, but I don't need to speak about what I did. But I'll say it was stressful up until the rehearsal. Even during the rehearsal, I think we played like 9 songs, maybe more. I can't remember. And then there was a few that weren't on Ableton. They were just live. But even then, I hadn't quite got it perfect, because this is all I'll say, and I won't go into Ableton too much. I bought a click track, like a click thing. It's basically that guy I was on about, Will Doggett. He made his own click thing, and it's like $50. I was like, I'll get that, because it means you can have every click track the same volume, which is something that's important, because you don't want to be like, Jesus, that's loud on a different song, or that's too quiet, and changing it on your pack. But then there was 2 songs that I just couldn't get the tempo grids to line up, and it wouldn't stay in time, and the rehearsal was like the next day, and I was like, I'm just going to have to leave it. So it's still, I think, I'm putting myself down. I did a lot of work. It was just days and days of just sat at Ableton, to the point where I was like, I have to go outside. But we got there and did the rehearsal, and it was like, okay, like it's sounding cool, but it's different, and we had to change some things, did a couple of rehearsals. But then we got to the gig and it all went well. Nothing went wrong. The only thing that went wrong is the last song we played, the vocals went a bit out of time, but that was because we literally added a vocal track that day, which went out of time. So it's like we checked it was all in time, like the first bit, and was like, yeah, it's good. And then it sort of threw us off, but it wasn't, totally awful. But other than that, it was brilliant, in terms of like stress-free. I bought my laptop, I bought my Mac along, plugged it all in to Millie's interface. So that's something I haven't got yet. And And yeah, it was just, I don't know, it sort of just, it went so smoothly that it was like, oh, this is fine, you know? And I think it was good that it was a sold out show at the Heartbreakers in Southampton. I didn't know it was going to be sold out. I don't think anyone did.
Is that venue upstairs?
Yes.
Yes.
It was a 100 capacity venue.
Yeah.
And it was nice because it was like a full room.
Sort of near the big John Lewis.
I think so. It feels like, you
Yeah.
know, if you're in Southampton, there's like a roundabout which seems to lead to like all the shops. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I know.
It's just off there. But yeah, it was great. And but all I really wanted was it just to all work well. Because even, you know, we did the sound check and I took my Mac off stage because I had to do some more stuff before we actually did the gig. And I was thinking, God, I hope I put the sends correctly, you know, so it doesn't basically, so the click doesn't come out front. Because I thought, what if I, you know, the first song, and it's 1, 2, 3, click, click, click. And I was like, that would be the worst thing to ever happen. But it didn't. And it was great. And it just sort of gave me the confidence because when I briefly spoke to Joe Clegg, who hopefully will be on the show, about it, I said, actually, you know, I almost wanted to wait a little bit and learn a bit more about Ableton before we chat to him. But it's like, when do you ever know enough? You know, it's like I learned enough to get us through
I still
the gig.
find new things in Pro Tools.
Well, this is it. Yeah, there's
I'm
no.
like, oh shit, I could do that.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
no
that's
ending
cool.
to it. But all I wanted was the band to be happy and the crowd to have a good time. And they did, I think. So it's like, well, that's that.
What they
done.
liked was that every song was counting for them. The crowd, they knew when it was starting because it went 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're like, okay, we know it's
and
coming.
they could clap in time
We know the
because the
tempo.
click was there, yeah. But yeah, no, it was all good. But it's very much now like we've got another gig in November, and I'm literally just going to redo the set just to make things easier because I sort of. Even just, it's really boring, and I'll just say it quick, but like even just getting all the tracks into one set on Ableton, I had to put some tracks in different places, so it was all a bit all over the place, but I did some key commands and it worked well. So, but it still felt like, oh God, I feel like this could fall apart, and I just want it sleeker. I want it to be like, I know more, you know. But we actually had another gig at the same venue a few nights later supporting a Japanese artist whose name I can't remember. But it was quite cool because it felt easy. It was like, oh, we did this the other night in the same venue. And
That's quite weird, isn't it, playing the same venue?
well, the best part was Ren Millie wanted us to wear these black jumpsuits, which were pretty cool. So I bought one from ASOS. I did the gig. And to be fair, on the headline gig, I was so worried about losing my Mac, my iPad, any of my drums, all this stuff.
You shot yourself, but the overalls were great.
Held it in.
Yeah.
That I didn't think about my jumpsuit, so stripped it off. It backstage. Have you ever been to Heartbreakers?
Yeah, I just said earlier. Yeah.
No, I mean,
been
have
there.
you ever played? Sorry.
I've not played there.
Oh.
No. Too small for me.
The backstage area is dirty. It feels like
They all are, aren't they?
Oh, but my God.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just stripped off and just put it somewhere, but I didn't realise it. And I got home and I was like, I've lost my fucking jumpsuit. I just bought that, used it once. And then we played the same venue 3 nights later and it was just still there. So I just put it back on.
Yeah.
It stunk, but you know. But anyway, yeah, no, it was just a good learning curve. I think if I hadn't have had that gig, I wouldn't have learnt Ableton at the speed at which I did. And I even had like get out clauses. I sort of thought, well, if I really can't do this, we can just do it the old way, you know, just run the backing tracks. But I was like, I don't want to have to rely on that. So it's like, no, we'll do this. But now it's good because now it's like, right, we've got another one next month. Let's just do it better, you know, just keep. And now the plan is to start bringing in some pads, you know, go full Joe Clegg Ableton on this bitch and just, you know, get some pads on there, you know, why not? Live your life. But yeah, that was the gigs.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
It went well.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's good. It went well. Do you feel you put more time and effort into that than Your GCSEs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than anything. Everything's fallen by the wayside. Relationship, new job.
Elfie's gone.
Just
but
in this room.
the click don't go to the crowd.
Exactly.
So swings
God,
and roundabouts.
Yeah, way more than with GCSEs. But no, it's good. It's
How did you do in your GCSEs?
I got 14 GCSEs.
You got 14?
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
Why did you do so many?
Well, I did the triple science, where you get to do 3 sciences. Yeah, and then there was something to do with ICT. You get 2 for some reason. I can't remember, but I got 14. And what was funny, my mum will enjoy this bit. We had a really sort of snooty neighbour across the road who would always try and one up us because they had a daughter who was like, basically, we were born like a week apart. And she'd always be like, I won't say her name, but my daughter did this. Has George done anything like that? And she came, as soon as GCSE results were out, she came over to us. She's like, she got, I can't remember, 9 or something. Mum was like, George got 14, so fuck you. Yeah. So,
All these, but 14 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he failed 14, but, you know.
Yeah. I only did 11.
You got 11?
Maybe 10.
I mean, as long as you get 5, you can get into, anything you want to do. You get into BIM. You don't need much
BIM
to get
with
into
a bit
BIM.
of paper signed from your mum, can't you?
Just open a door to get into BIM. Yeah, right. Sorry, my ears are going buzzing again. This new room has thrown off my aesthetic. Shall we talk about episode 100? Or have you got anything else? Do you want to talk about your new snare first?
Yeah. So for those who listened to previous to our UK Drum Show episodes, will know that up there in Liverpool, I purchased a BDC, a British drum company, 16 by... No, excuse me.
Massive snare.
Yeah. It's like a display one. It's like... And they went, he wants to buy that. He's mental. 14 by 6.5 Aviator, which is an aluminium snare drum. I didn't take it home with me that weekend, but they delivered it to me, and I got it last week. I didn't know it was coming. I mean, I knew it was coming, but I didn't have any notification of delivery date.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be in. Knock at the door. Hello. There it is. Now, I thought I'd make note of this.
Yeah.
Who do you think the delivery company was? BBC used.
Oh, God, because they told us, didn't they? Mel told. Did Mel tell us?
I can't remember.
Okay. Every.
No.
God, I thought it'd be a curveball. DPS.
Who's that?
What did I say? DPS. Is that not one?
DPS.
You're right.
Sorry, I'm just getting my feet caught up in my stand. Do you mean UPS?
No.
Or do you mean DPD?
No, it's a new one. They've joined forces. I think I meant DPD, and I had UPS also in my head. Let's go DPD.
It wasn't DPD.
Was it UPS?
It was UPS. It was UPS. Yep. A very friendly man in his brown uniform.
Nice.
Delivered my snare drum. I unboxed it at home.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But it wasn't it was only a couple of days later I brought it into the studio to have a little play.
After 3 days of just sleeping with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's got stock heads on, but they're not Remo, they're not Evans. They say it's got a little logo. It says Overhead. I think it says Overhead, and then British Drum Company. And I'm pretty sure when I spoke to Jack BDC up at the drum show, he said, we have our own heads now, rather than have a deal with a company. But I was like, do I replace the stock heads? But I was like, I'll just try it with what it's got on. So I got it on a snare stand in the live room at the studio. And first of all, it wasn't cheap, and you can tell it's just quality build. And then I was like, right, let's tune it up. And just tuning up, it was just incredibly easy. And incredibly quickly, it just sounded amazing.
Yeah.
It sounded amazing with the snares off, with the snares on, with no muffling, moon gel, small O-ring, thicker O-ring. Just every one just sounded great.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to keep these stock heads on. But then I had a thought, and I might be wrong with this. I might be wrong. But I think it's a Code drum head.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'll tell you for why.
Yeah.
And again, I might be completely wrong. But the texture and shine of the coated batter head doesn't look like an Evans coating.
Right.
And it doesn't look like a Remo coating. And I think they have visual characteristics.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, like Remo one it's kind of like a more slightly beigey thing. This is bright white, but the texture, I've used Evans snare heads a lot, and this just looks different. It has a different sort of sheen on it in the light, right? And also, I think it's a Code drum head because they're not, BDC aren't making their own drum heads.
No.
They're clearly not doing that. But at the drum show, when I went to speak to Code drum heads, all their display heads that they were showing off was on a BDC shells. So it wouldn't surprise me if they've got a deal together and they go, you can use BDC drums to show off your skins, and we'll supply all our kits with Code drum heads, but we'll put our own branding on it. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. But also as well, because it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And I just don't think BDC, for the amount of money they're charging and their pride in their craftsmanship of their kits, would put a shit head on.
Yeah.
And rely on you to just change it instantly, unlike, more of a factory mid-range kit. So I think they've gone for maybe as well, it's probably, I don't know, like cheaper to get them from Code, as have that deal. Code will be happy with a big deal for them.
Yeah.
To supply heads, probably in general cheaper than having a deal with Remo for BDC. But also, I was quite impressed actually with the Code heads I saw at the drum show. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's the arrangement. Again, I might be completely wrong, but in summarization, the snare just sounds quality,
Brilliant
out of the box, and you can just, I don't know, it just the way it tuned and the way it just feels and the way it feels to play is like, oh yeah, this is. And when we spoke to Connor,
I was going to say, he uses the stock heads, doesn't he, for his
and
kit?
I asked him, when you first played your BDC kit, what was it? Can you describe?
Yeah.
And he just said, I can't. He found it difficult to put into words, but it was kind of like, it just feels well made and feels quality. And I kind of had that same feeling of like, oh, this just feels like, I don't know, like the bearing edges and the rims, it's all just so well finely made that it just fucking works, and the drum just sings. And I thought, if this is the same level quality that goes into a shell pack, I could almost visualize hitting those toms and being like, oh, this just sounds quality, without any, it just tuned really well because it's so well made. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
But it's phenomenal, and I'm very glad I got the 6.5 because it has that body, because I do want to use it in the studio, and I did actually use it on a gig last weekend. I am denied about it, but I thought, I'm going to use it, and Elliot knew I'd got it because he listened, and then after the gig he was like, man, that snare just sounded fucking incredible.
Yeah.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you,
that's been that's been lovely.
Right, let's discuss episode 100.
Wow, yeah,
'Cause
that's
we've
what
made
we're all
it
here.
So I'll go into what I've made for this show. So I remember the date. It was October 21st, 2023, 2021. Fuck me. That's not come up yet. 2 years ago, nearly. And we were having a chat, me and you, on FaceTime or something. I don't know, some video call. And we were throwing ideas around about stuff. And I was like, this is quite good. I'm going to record this just because I don't want to forget what we've been chatting about, you know. So I, without you knowing, just went on voice memos and just pressed record, and we carried on chatting.
You're like the bloody Daily Mail recording me without my knowledge.
Exactly.
Hacking in.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I just forgot about it. And then I remembered it. I can't remember a while later when we'd been doing the pod. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've got that thing, you know. And it's just, I think this is the time to show it off, because there's a bit in it. I think there's a bit in it where we talk about, you know, the possibility of doing a podcast up to 100 episodes. And it's just funny. I mean, let's just play it.
So we had initially a chat about doing one, and then we had a FaceTime call to further discuss ideas and maybe what it could be. And then, without me knowing, and then a few weeks ago you were like, oh, I recorded that conversation.
Yeah.
Here's a bit where we sort of talk about, and do we sort of mention like getting to 100 episodes maybe?
I can't remember. Let's have a listen, because we both we're gonna
listen to it now, and we're gonna put it in the episode now.
Yeah.
So you guys can hear
that conversation
2 years ago.
Here we go.
We did a podcast and we had someone on and asked some questions for an hour about drums, but also deviated and chatted about other stuff. It'd be amazing.
But you want it to be centered around drums.
Yeah.
But then have that bounce and personality that's, while centered around drums, will deviate from it, but fundamentally it is a drumming podcast. And then you deviate into funny things, and your personalities just shine through how you talk about it and have a laugh about it. And when you got I did this once and I completely fucked it up and I messed this up. But fundamentally, because you have to just talk about shit you know. You want to be the off menu of the drumming world.
Yeah, definitely. And joking aside, there's no reason why we couldn't make the drum podcast. Do you know what I mean?
Starting a podcast about drums, no one could have any qualms about it. No one can judge us for it or be like, why are you doing that? I think we should do it. I think we should just do it because we are, that's the thing. It's not like we're trying to think of like a podcast where it's like, I'd just love to do one just for a laugh.
Yeah.
But if it's anything other than drums, I think it's just impossible, or just we're not famous enough for people to care.
Yeah.
Whereas people might look up drums. Oh, there's a podcast about drumming.
Yeah.
I'll give it a listen.
Yeah. You know, when we start this, when, you know, if it's all on Spotify, it could be 100 episodes before someone even comes across it.
And I can already imagine, like the intro music, where it's just a little 2-bar sick drum beat.
Yeah.
You know, you just record a pilot episode.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
Just have a run at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be released, you know, it could just be, but at least gets the, see what happens when we talk about drums for 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do it.
Cool, innit? Very
So there
cool.
we go. That's weird, because it does feel
That
like
is
I was
weird.
like secretly taped.
Yeah, you were. That was exactly what happened. But aren't you glad you were?
Yeah.
Because I used to try and do that. Whenever we used to have chats at your studio and we'd say some stuff that I thought was hilarious, and you'd be like, we should start a podcast. And I always thought, man, I wish I'd secretly recorded some of these chats. I never did. But now we actually record it. And done 100 episodes. But it's just mad. Like, because, I mean, I don't know how much we explained on the podcast about, you know, we did do a pilot episode. And it was about an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
And we binned it because it was just weird, you know?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, it was, you know, what we wanted to see what it, you got to try it.
Yeah, you got to try it.
And we wanted to see what would sort of happen, and we learned a lot from it.
Did.
And I was like, yeah, okay, there's something here. And we've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's interesting. I mentioned like some people might not discover this until
Episode 100.
I said that.
you said that.
I said that.
And here we are.
But yeah,
We are on episode 100.
we are on episode 100. And also, it might not be, what if we get a big drummer one day, a massive, Dave Grohl or Travis Barker, and then there's so many people, so many drummers that have no clue who we are, but then there's a few that, do listen, and it's just, that's what's exciting, because even the biggest podcasts, you still might not find them. I didn't find Off Menu until they've been doing it a few years and they'd had massive guests,
Yeah.
That's what's exciting. And what's exciting is those episodes are there forever. So it's almost like a time capsule of all those guests we've had on, especially like younger people. I like the idea of I don't know, that's when they started or whatever, your Connor Hopkins or Jack Geary, but then other people that are, getting through their career and this is what they've done. But I will say, what I've enjoyed is the fact that we do get to do it every week. This is something I would say to everyone, is that if you're with a band, you record your EP and that's it. And you've done your EP until you do the next one. Whereas this, we get to retry doing a podcast every week. And there's things that we've stopped doing. We used to do a break halfway through and don't do that anymore. We never used to do the little snippets of intro, where someone says something funny and then you crop it, the canon, that wasn't always there. The actual intro, welcome to Drum and Drummer, that was that added. And that's what's exciting, because you're like, right, what can we, and it ebbs and flows, sometimes we're like, right, feel like we're in a bit of a, last year I felt like we were going into a bit of a dip. And then we interviewed Mark Pusey and did a photo shoot, and it was like, oh, no, this is good. We've got our mojo back, But yeah, it's just keep doing it.
I mean, it's very much a part of my life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I still very much enjoy doing it.
Yeah, so do I.
Chatting to you every week.
It's nice.
And we,
it's good. And if you've been with us from the start, thank you very much. If you've joined at any point, thank you very much. And maybe you'll join well after this has come out and you're listening back. So, hello, future listeners. I did like as well, I said about having a little drum sting,
that was the best
which we have, and that was not far off.
No.
But I think it's a great achievement to get to 100 episodes.
I think it is. Because I saw a meme, and you can see it online, and I might even post it for this episode. And it was like, you'll never get to your 100th podcast or your, 1000th whatever unless you start it. So just start it. Just go for it. And I think a lot of, I've got musician mates who don't put anything out because they're worried it's not perfect. We've never worried if it's perfect. just
The edit can only do so much.
Well, this is it. And that was, and that was one of the things, I think we both said it, but I remember hearing Diary of a CEO man, Stephen Bartlett, say it. That's his name, isn't it? I think that's his name, Dragon's Den Man. But he has a massive podcast, and he
good
said
for him.
Good for him. One of the most important things is doing it every week. And it's so true. There's a lot of podcasts that will do a few and then stop for a bit and then do a few more. And people do just lose interest. Oh, it's not out this week, but it's every Thursday at 6 a.m. It's like never miss one. And then people know it's there, So that's, it's a lot of
Well,
good
we've
things.
said a lot of the time, if we've got nothing else, we've got consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's good, that's because it's so easy to give up with anything you do. It's just so easy.
Well, I think there's a lot of it that we've had help with. I mean, obviously, you edit bands on the regular, so editing a podcast, as you said, is far easier, and you've done it with people's podcasts. So,
I didn't have to learn how to edit podcasts.
No.
I can edit these for breakfast.
You can do that. And also, I'll put it bluntly, we've been drummers for 10, 20 years, and we know how it feels to put something on Spotify and no one listens to it. Do you know what I mean? So it's I think a lot of people who do podcasts probably expect, we're going to put this out and it's going to rake in the listens and no one cares, you know. But I think that's the thing. You got to not worry. We
are playing a long game.
Yeah.
But you're right. The fact that we can, you know, it's very different to music where that's a lengthy amount of time writing, recording, mixing, mastering, videos, you know, pre-release, PR, to then drop.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas we do have the, not the luxury of this, but one thing I certainly enjoy that's different to music is it's like, bang, do it. There's going to be one next week. There's going to be one the week after. We can make little tweaks. We can make changes. But also, it's just it's a very different journey.
It is.
And it's one that I find very enjoyable to do, as well as doing the music projects and stuff like that. But
that's something else I got to say is that we mentioned, you know, recently. I mean, you mentioned it first. You said, I've never had a band that people have been as interested in as the podcast. And I was saying it, you know, in terms of like all our mates will ask about it. And, you know, I went to Dino's party the other night. And
Dino, everyone a big party,
I know,
did he?
Huh?
You for a big party?
Well, it was all right. Yeah, it was good actually. But everyone there that I know asked me about the podcast first, and that was what they went straight in. And we discussed it, and we said it's because there's no, what's the word, like competition, I guess, with it. You know, if you meet someone and you know they've got a big gig, there's bound to, no matter how much you're happy for them, there's bound to be a bit of like jealousy, you know. Whereas in my circle of friends, and I assume your circle of friends, we're the only people that have a podcast. You know what I mean? No one else in my group has a podcast. So there's no like, oh, well, I'm not going to ask him about his podcast because, you know, mine isn't doing as well. You know, it's just like, it's a separate thing. So I don't know. It's quite nice that it's sort of, I don't know.
I think maybe, you know, not don't know if that's reading too much into it in terms of like, you know, that I totally know what you're saying, that it's in our circle of people, it's a unique thing to have and to be doing. And I think, I don't know how to put it, where the line blurs from, like when someone starts something, people can be like a bit intrepid about what they're doing. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? But over time, in the fact we've just kept doing it, and we've been able to get great guests on and things like that, that at some point it then just becomes like a legitimate thing. You know? And so the fact that people ask you about it a lot and you know, and ask me, like, it there's a legitimacy.
I'm struggling to
What's
think what the word is.
Legitimacy. A legitimacy.
Yeah. I know
it's
what you mean.
legit.
Yeah.
That it's taken sort of seriously.
Yes. Yeah.
In a way that, like, this isn't just, maybe, you know, we do dick about, but it ain't just dicking about for a bit or trying. It's like, oh no, this is actually a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and even a friend of mine, Ken, texts, you know, I think I mentioned it, but he was like, it's really good. It sounds really professional. Yes, that's helped by the fact that I know what I'm doing in Pro Tools and things like that, but that's a hurdle where we wouldn't fall down.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And it's become something that people take seriously and that people maybe have a bit of respect for, you know.
Yeah.
No, or they might think it's shit, but
if
they think shit, fine. Doesn't matter.
I almost prefer it. But
we can't just ignore the fact that how funny I am.
No.
You know?
If people think it's shit, then great. I'd rather shit and great than like lukewarm, you know, response, you know. But yeah, no, I agree. And it's when people ask about it, who I see as, you know, highly respected drummers, and they sort of, I don't know, it just sort of, I think, you know, we've said it, imposter syndrome, you know, even when we were talking about it, there is that worry of like, well, who are we to do a drumming podcast? But then it's like, well, we are drummers. Just because we're not, you know, playing stadiums doesn't mean we can't chat with people And I think that's something I've always said is like that's what's good
The
about
best
it. is
football
we are-
managers weren't the best players.
Exactly. And we're always asking questions from a thing of like, we're interested about it. You know, we asked, you know, this drummer, how was it to do this? And, you know, or it's a bit like comedians doing podcasts together and they know how it is to both be arena selling comedians and it's not relatable. You know what I mean? Whereas we sort of ask them, I don't know, people that have done different things and ask them from a point of view of like, what's it like to do a theatre show, you know? Because we haven't done it, you know, as opposed to two theatre drummers being like, you know how it is, man. It's like, yeah, I know how it is. Anyway, how are you? You know, I don't know. I think like that's part of our appeal, if there is an appeal, you know. We're genuinely interested about our guests, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's why we have them on.
I feel pretty confident we'll do at least another 100 more.
Yeah, yeah. I
You know.
mean, I'll be 30 by then, nearly. No, I will. Probably will. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's the constant.
Yeah, I'll probably be 40.
Mental.
Yeah.
Um,
Sobering, innit?
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
I mean, we've patted ourselves on the back.
Enough
yeah.
there.
That's the only time
Um,
we should do it until episode 200.
Yeah. We're just feeling pride. We're feeling pride
Yeah.
at what we've
It's an achievement.
birthed together.
Yeah,
We've had a child and this is it.
exactly. So,
Yeah. But I wanted to leave with this, George.
go on.
So for those who do listen, will have noticed in every episode there's the little audio sting
Ah, yes.
of a drum beat.
Mm.
And then there's also the intro music, which has guitars and things like that. Now, for those of you who don't know, which might be everyone, that is actually taken from a song by a band I was in, still am in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you spoke about them a lot in the early.
Yeah, because we
episodes.
were working on an EP and we were rehearsing. It's dwindled out. That's fine. Life gets in the way. But
Mm.
I think it was over a bit of lockdown and over lockdown started a band with a friend. And then we got my mate Ox on bass called The Dent Act. And we wrote an EP. And I sort of produced it during the tail ends of lockdown. And then eventually mixed it, I think, the start of 2022. I think it's been a while. And then we never released it. So actually, that is taken from one of the songs that would have been on this EP called... Oh, I literally can't remember what the song's called. I think it's called Priorities. And what I also did in lockdown was when I had my just kit set up indefinitely at the studio because the business went open. I did some drum videos and I actually did a drum playthrough of this song, and I thought it'd be quite cool to put that video up on our YouTube so people can actually hear the context of where that intro music and that little drum beat comes from. So that's going to be on the YouTube. And you can see a fatter me playing along on the drums. But I think it's one of the best songs I've ever been involved in.
Well, that's good.
In both, I didn't write it, so I can say that. Mike wrote it.
Well, you can say that anyway.
I think it's great. I think I did a good job with the drumming and the production. But I think it's a really good song. And I just thought it'd be cool. You could hear, because it's never been released, but you could hear where that little beat and that intro music comes from in context.
Yeah.
But when I listen to it now, all I
Insta.
hear is, oh, it's a song. Oh, and now there's the drum and drummer bit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
we're saying it's like theme tunes, you know? Friends, Macro in the middle. And the one I didn't mention when we were talking about theme tunes earlier, The Royal Family. Did you ever watch that? And, you know,
I
that
never
Oasis
really
song.
watched it.
Oh, it's good. But yeah, that Oasis song, Noel's like, that's not my song anymore. That is the Royal Family intro. So, yeah, that's not a Dentac song anymore. That is Drum and Drummer.
But yeah,
nice.
put that up because I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah. Right, there you go. Episode 100.
Episode 100 done. Next week, episode 101
Room 101.
with a guest in tow. It's a very good episode. We've already recorded it.
Yep.
So we look forward to that.
Yeah.
George, have a great week.
You too.
Enjoy your new wank dungeon.
Yep.
I'll enjoy my new snare. And we'll see you on Thursday bright and early.
Big time.
Goodbye.
Bye.
100 episodes. Yeah.
To get one more word in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.